In the fall of 1775, a woman walked into a bakery in Newport, Rhode Island, carrying a letter no one could read. Not because of bad handwriting, because it was written in code. Line after line of symbols, numbers, and Greek letters. She asked the baker for a favor. Get this letter onto a British warship. He said he would. Instead, he sat on it for 2 months. And when it finally landed on the desk of General George Washington, and 2 amateur codebreakers cracked it open, what they found would expose the most trusted man in the American Revolution. America's first traitor. And no, it is not the name you're thinking of. Boston, the 1770s. If you were building the American Revolution from scratch, you would build Benjamin Church. Harvard-educated, one of the most celebrated physicians in New England. When British soldiers gunned down 5 colonists in the Boston Massacre, it was Dr. Church who examined the bodies. When the anniversary came, it was Dr. Church who delivered the memorial oration to a packed and weeping crowd. He wrote the movement's fiercest propaganda, poems and pamphlets that mocked the crown and lit up the taverns of Boston. Samuel Adams trusted him. John Hancock trusted him. Dr. Joseph Warren trusted him. Paul Revere sat beside him in the inner circle of the Sons of Liberty. Every secret committee that mattered, correspondence, safety, the provincial congress, Church was in the room where the revolution was being planned. So, in the summer of 1775, when the brand new Continental Army needed someone to run its entire medical department, Congress chose him. Dr. Benjamin Church, the first Surgeon General in American history. He answered directly to General George Washington. He sat in on councils of war, troop counts, powder stores, battle plans. Benjamin Church knew everything. That was the problem. Because the celebrated doctor had a second life, a grand house in the countryside, a mistress in town, debts stacking up quietly behind the reputation. Friends wondered, privately, where the money came from. Paul Revere wondered too. He'd been wondering since 1774. And then there was the trip. Days after Lexington, with Boston under siege, Church stunned his fellow patriots by announcing he was walking into the occupied city. For medicine, he said. He came back with a dramatic story. Arrested, hauled before General Gage himself, interrogated and barely released. Years later, a Boston deacon would swear he'd seen Dr. Church that very day, not in a cell, strolling out of General Gage's headquarters, like a man leaving a business meeting. July 1775. Church writes a letter to a British major in Boston, in Cipher. He hands it to the person he trusts most, his mistress. Her job? Get it into British hands through Newport, Rhode Island. Her mistake? Asking for help from an old suitor, a baker named Godfrey Wenwood, a patriot. Wenwood took the letter, and then he did the single most consequential act of procrastination in American history. Nothing. For 2 months, the letter sat while something gnawed at him. Then came the note from the woman, pressing him. Why hasn't the letter arrived? Which meant one chilling thing. Somebody on the other side knew it hadn't. Somebody was waiting for it. Wenwood carried the letter to a patriot friend, who carried it to General Nathaniel Greene, who wrote it straight to His Excellency, George Washington. Washington ordered the woman brought to headquarters and questioned her. For hours, she gave them nothing. Then, under threat of severe punishment, she broke and spoke a name that made no sense to anyone in the room. Dr. Church. He was arrested on September 29th. His papers were seized. And here's the detail that should make your skin crawl. They found nothing. Clean. Every incriminating scrap already gone. Either he was innocent or he was careful. That left the letter itself. Washington handed copies to 2 separate teams and let them race. A Baptist preacher with a gift for puzzles, and a Massachusetts politician named Elbridge Gerry. Yes, the man gerrymandering is named after. Working independently, they came back with identical translations. And the letter was devastating. Continental troop strengths, artillery counts, ammunition stores, 20 tons of powder now in camp, recruiting numbers, casualty figures from Bunker Hill, even whispers from inside the Continental Congress. It ended with a plea to his handlers to guard his identity. Take every precaution, he begged, or I perish. On October 3rd, 1775, Washington summoned his generals to a council of war at his Cambridge headquarters. The house is still standing today. Church didn't deny writing it. His defense was, frankly, brilliant. Of course I wrote to the British. I was feeding them lies. Look at the numbers, inflated. I was making our army look too strong to attack. I wasn't betraying the cause. I was protecting it. And here's the uncomfortable part. The numbers were exaggerated. No one could prove the letter was treason, and no one could prove it wasn't. Then Washington hit a wall nobody saw coming. There was no law for this. Treason against a country that didn't exist yet. The brand new Articles of War topped out at cashiering, a small fine, 39 lashes. Nobody writing those rules had imagined this. The council convicted him of criminal correspondence with the enemy, and then had to invent what to do with him. Congress was so shaken, it added the death penalty for espionage that November. 1 month too late to use it. So Benjamin Church, Surgeon General, founding insider, orator of the Revolution, was locked in a Connecticut jail under orders straight from Congress. No pen, no paper, no visitors, unless a magistrate stood listening to every word. Prison broke his health. His asthma worsened in the cold. His letters, the ones he was finally allowed, begged for release. By 1778, Massachusetts had had enough of the problem named Benjamin Church. The legislature put him on a sloop called the Welcome, bound for exile in Martinique, banished from the country he'd helped to found, and maybe helped to betray. The Welcome cleared Boston Harbor and sailed off the face of the earth. No wreckage, no survivors, no record. 2 years later, his own father's will could only manage the words, "My son Benjamin, if he be living." America's first accused traitor didn't get a trial for treason, didn't get a pardon, didn't get a grave. He simply vanished into the Atlantic. And that should be the end of the story. Except for one problem. For the next 150 years, nobody could actually prove he did it. One ambiguous letter, inflated numbers, a defense no one ever managed to break. His descendants swore he was innocent, and plenty of historians agreed. Benedict Arnold committed his betrayal 5 years later, in plain sight, and took the title of America's first traitor almost by default. Church remained a question mark. Then, in the 1920s, an American collector named William L. Clemens bought a mountain of papers from an estate in England, the private files of General Thomas Gage, sealed since the Revolution. When scholars in Michigan opened them, they found intelligence reports, dozens of them, in handwriting they recognized, dating back to before Lexington and Concord. Troop movements, the secret debates of the Provincial Congress, and the location of the weapons stockpiled at Concord. Intelligence, historians believe, that helped send 700 redcoats marching up the Concord Road in April 1775. The shot heard round the world was fired in part because of Benjamin Church. While he was delivering eulogies for the Boston Massacre, he was on a British payroll. The verdict took a century and a half, but the file, in the end, was thicker than the legend. So why does every American know Benedict Arnold, and almost no one knows Benjamin Church? Maybe because Arnold's story has the arc we want, the hero who fell. Church offers something colder, the founder who was never really one of us. Arnold, at least, waited for the country to exist before he sold it. Church sold the revolution before the first shot was fired, and sailed away before the full truth could catch him. History remembers the traitor who failed. It nearly forgot the one who succeeded. If you want the stories that fell through the cracks of American history, the spies, the miracles, the near misses that made this country, subscribe. Because next time, an entire American army trapped with its back to the water and the impossible fog that made it disappear.